Welcome to POS 571, Study Session 6, Hegel's Theory of the State. Introduction. Hegel is one of the philosophers that contributed to the theory of the state. The basis of his contribution is what we will analyze in this study session. Learning outcomes. After you have studied this study session, you should be able to 1. Discuss Hegel's theory of the state. 2. Describe three bases for the evolution of human society. Hegel's theory of the state. Much of Hegel's writing was done right from the 18th century. This was the period in which French Revolution and Napoleonic War was experienced in the Europe. The political idea of fascism and communism, which became popular in the 20th century, could be traced to Hegel's writing. The basic initial position of Hegel is one that incorporates Russian's idea that obedience implies freedom. In addition, Hegel also borrowed from Immanuel Kant. One of Kant's ideas is encapsulated in his concept of categorical imperative. Basically, the concept of categorical imperative establishes the point that the basis of moral behavior is that one should act in such a way that if a principle can be derived from one's action, that principle would serve as a universal law. In incorporating the ideas of Russian and Kant, therefore, Hegel emphasized the link between individual will and moral freedom. He also emphasized the point that self-determination is the basis of an ethical society. He then offered us a picture of the evolution of human society. At this stage, individuals have a right to property, and this right belongs to them as a person, even though they cannot properly exercise that right until the state is developed. Here, Hegel focuses on the bourgeoisie nature of liberal right, which highlights the question of property and contracts as well as the fact that property in this phase is intermingled with a person and his individual will. At this stage of abstract rights of bourgeois thought, property is essentially the objective action of the individual personality and individual will. And to that extent, to respect the individual property is also to respect the individual as a person. The phase of morality. While property in the first phase is central to property manifestation, Hegel goes on to note that the second phase of morality emphasizes the individual concept and focuses on the function of morality. This is the stage of discussing what ought to be, including the questions of the moral obligation of the individual. At this level of evolution of human society, therefore, there is a search for a union or a correspondence between individual will and universal will. For this search remains largely incoherent. For Hegel, both morality and abstract right are a one-sided phase, the phase of social ethics. In the language of dialectical method, the phase of abstract right constitutes the aspect of thesis, while the phase of morality constitutes antithesis and social ethics constitute synthesis. Essentially, therefore, the sphere of social ethics offers the synthesis of the earlier two phases. It is this phase that resolves the tension between the abstract right and morality. At the third phase, the state becomes the higher self for an individual, and in sacrificing his interest for the state, the individual has sacrificed his lower self for his higher self. Here, is the phase of abstract right and morality, where the individual's freedom is obedient to a law that the individual prescribes to himself. In this third and final stage, the laws of the state are the laws of the individual's highest self. Stages of the phase of social ethics. Hegel indicated that the last phase of social ethics could in itself be broken down into 3 stages. Each stage is corresponding to certain social institution. The first is having the state corresponding to the institution of the family. Second corresponding to the institution of civil society, while the third corresponding to the emergence of the state. 1. State corresponding with the family. Hegel described this stage as a stage of immediate family. According to him, at this stage, reasons exist in the pursuit of feelings. Given the fact that the elements of the second tend to manifest as opposites of the elements of the first. For instance, as prescribed by Hegel, civil society is a community of producers who are provided with public service and infrastructure that are required for production. The emergence of civil society, therefore, leads to the collapse of Hegelian society and the rise to civil society. In the emerging civil society, rights and obligations are clearly spelled out, and formal contracts are paid for in this new civil society, and privacy is assured. In the old order of the extended family, there is no privacy. There are no fixed rules, and relationships are not contextual, but based on love and ethical bonds. Essentially, therefore, the phase of the civil society is the stage of mutual dependence of independent individuals. Each person, including the new form of the family, seeks his own identity. This stage is what the bourgeoisie theorists refer to as the state, and it is still a mechanical convenience meant to promote the greatest well-being of each individual. For this reason, each person or family pursuing its own interest achieves the good of the society. It is at this stage that spheres of wants emerge, and through this, society gets divided into classes or estates. Civil society is then characterized by a multiplicity of associations of individuals with similar interests. These associations are recognized and established as corporations that lift the individuals out of their own self-seeking, egoistic activities and then bring them close to the universal. It is for this reason, at this sphere, that the individual takes a step further in the evolution of human society. 3. As conceived by Hegel, the state is the final and highest stage of historical and world development. Here, the state is the synthesis of the family and civil society. It involves a process of unifying people into the state, while at the same time retaining what is present in the earlier stages involving the different roles of individuals as persons, members of the family, and as members of a class. Hegel went on to describe the state as a true individual, calling it the highest form of the individual, because according to Hegel, the state is therefore no longer a means to secure individuals' welfare, but it becomes an end in itself. This state well supersedes the family and the civil society, for Hegel prescribed them as moments in life. On this, Hegel believed that he is able to overcome what he considered as the supreme as taught in Plato's Republic. This submission, however, overlooked the factor of individual freedom and right for individual subjects. To Hegel, social relations transcend the minimalist framework of individual rights of the subject. Thus, it is important at some stages in the evolution of human society to focus on the rights of the subject. It was a stage like this that Hegel described as the stage of subjectivity. He introduced the concept of categorical imperative that considered the basis of moral behavior as being directly linked with that of universal law. Summary. In this study session, we examine Hegel's thoughts on the state. As a writer, Hegel's work was directly linked with the political idea of fascism and communism in the 20th century. He introduced the concept of categorical imperative. Take 2. Summary. In this study session, we examined Hegel's thoughts on the state. As a writer, Hegel's work was directly linked with the political idea of fascism and communism in the 20th century. He introduced the concept of categorical imperative that considered the basis of moral behavior as being directly linked with that of universal law. He identified three bases for the evolution of human society, namely the phase of abstract rights, the phase of morality, and the phase of social ethics, which can also be divided into three stages, and each stage is corresponding to the family, civil society, and lastly, the state, which Hegel argued was the final and highest stage of historical and world development. End of study session 6. Thanks for listening.